Today we're in a largely unknown area, but right outside of Las Vegas. This is the Wheeler Spring Camp parking area off Highway 159. And as you're traveling on Highway 159, and let's say you're heading toward Pahrump, you're going to take a right on Highway 160 down in this direction. You're going to pass the town of Blue Diamond. Well, before you get there, you'll notice that there is a road right across Highway 159 here that that often has huge trucks going up this road as part of the gypsum mining operation. Let's see if we can zero in on one of them up here. Yeah, there's one. Huge trucks for gypsum mining. Anyway, this is part of the Blue Diamond Hill area. I'd call it the far west side of Blue Diamond Hill. There is a high ridge over here that we are going to traverse. The cool thing about this ridge, I call it the Western High Ridge of Blue Diamond Hill. The cool thing about this is that it is going to offer spectacular views of the Rainbow Mountains. Unique, spectacular views. The ridge parallels the Rainbow Mountains, and so when you're on top of that ridge at about 4,000 feet, the Rainbow Mountains, maybe 6,000 to 7,000 feet. Mount Wilson over here is in the area of 7,000 feet, but the average Rainbow Mountains are more towards 6,000 feet. You're looking right across at the Rainbow Mountains as you're on this high ridge. And so, the main benefit of this unknown ridge is that you get to just span a huge area of the Rainbow Mountains. Now, I wanted to be on that ridge, and we'll do that today, but just parking here, I'm noticing it's like being in a whole different world, that there's so much possibility all around here. I see at least one trailhead over here. I think it's a trailhead, kind of blocked off, but we'll find out eventually. And there are a number of hills over in this direction at the base of the Rainbow Mountains, and maybe even um, a way up to the Rainbow Mountains and to the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline, which is that darker ridge behind the Rainbow Mountains. So that's pretty cool. Accessed from this Wheeler Spring Camp parking area. And then there's also another area of Blue Diamond Hill. So we talked about the Western High Ridge on Blue Diamond Hill, and there's this whole southern area of Blue Diamond Hill, which is, again, largely unknown. So we're in totally new territory, as usually happens. And the first goal here today is to make it up to the summit of the Western High Ridge and then begin heading north on that ridge. So let's get started. Going to be exciting. And now we're across Highway 159, and believe it or not, a little trail. So this will help us. I wasn't expecting any trail. I was expecting just to be traversing this area between where we are now and the beginning of that Western High Ridge. So with the help of this trail, let's see where it's going to lead. Maybe it'll get us up to the ridge at least. A couple quick observations. That trail very quickly leads to a wash here. That's one observation. Another observation is that there are a lot of tire tracks on the trail and in the wash that indicate this is likely a mountain biking area. Pretty cool for mountain bikers. There's a little trail above the wash, and on the right side there's the wash down there. And this must be a thing because look at this little bridge. Somebody has taken a lot of trouble to um, work on this trail. And it looks like a great mountain biking trail or hiking. And there above us is one of the vehicles of the gypsum mining operation. But look at this, totally wild area. Now, one thing is that, as you can see, across the wash on the left side, which is basically between where we are and the ridge ahead, that high point is the ridge ahead, there's a pretty steep 20-foot loose rock vertical wall. And so at some point we're going to need to find a way over that wall to get to the ridge. But regardless, we'll figure it out, find the opening. And I think the wall begins to level out a little bit ahead. So I see what might be our opening. Let's find out. Okay, this is good news. Hey, we're in a Red Rock section right here. But yeah, you cross the wash and now the huge vertical walls are on the left, or on the right side. And as we cross the wash onto the left side, I'm seeing above us another little trail. So let's find this trail, go up there, and yeah, look at this. I guess if you were hiking or riding your mountain bike in the wash, this would be a little trail that leads out of the wash. And again, I see mountain bike tracks on this trail. Now we're crossing over to the left side, and you can see looking down the wash how the vertical walls on our right, those are the walls that were to our left as we were ascending the wash. Looked like it was going to be a challenge to get over them, but wow, here we go. And rising up, let's see what's above us. Okay, I'm going to leave this a little trail because our direction is over here toward this high point cone hill ahead. You see two hills. And now I think what we're going to do is just head straight for those hills. There may be a trail that helps us along at some point, but for now we're just going to make a straight line. And by the way, as I mentioned, spectacular views of the Rainbow Mountains all along this route. Look at this, just amazing. And beautiful Joshua Tree Forest area. And by the way, there's a mountain biker on the trail. So yeah, definitely this is a thing. One of the vehicles on the gypsum road. There's our mountain biker. And yeah, the trail wound around. So let's get back on the trail and see where it leads. And here we are on the trail again. By the way, if you're a mountain biker, you might consider this one of the best mountain biking trails. I have not seen a better. And heading right toward those cone hills we need to ascend. And as I look more closely at the hills, I am seeing what looks like trails on the side of the hill. Let's see if we can nail one of them. Yeah, there's one. So, pretty amazing. I think we're going to be unexpectedly aided by some cool trails on this adventure. Maybe a lot of people know of this area, at least mountain bikers do, but it's not marked on any map. So if you don't know about it, like me, don't feel bad. Here's the 360-degree view. This is just incredible. Such a beautiful area. Oh, by the way, here is the Spring Mountain Ranch, home of the Super Summer Theater. Google that, an awesome musical that's put on during the late spring to early fall. So, hey, let's continue on and see what else we can discover here. Maybe trails will get us all the way to the top of that Conehead Hill, and then we'll be heading north on the Western High Ridge. Okay, maybe that parking area where I parked was also a place to park your horse trailer and take a horse on this trail. I've seen signs of horses on this trail, and it remains one of the most awesome trails I have seen. I'm usually in the wilderness. Of course, every place that I go is the very first time, so it's always an adventure of discovery. But now and then you come across a real jewel, and I think I've landed on one today. Yeah, I see trails on the other side of the road too, and of course the gypsum mining road is just across the way. Give you a perspective of where we are and how to find it. We're just north of that road. And there's the wash I was in. Fortunately, trails are above the wash. And I think that what I've stumbled upon is a network of amazing trails here. So let's continue on and see where this goes, with the idea that we're heading for the summit of this Conehead Hill there. So let's continue. Okay, it's easier to see a trail when a mountain biker's on it. That mountain biker that passed us just a moment ago is ascending this area. Yeah, there you go. There he is. Embarrassing, shows you how slow I am going, but it also shows that this trail looks like it's going to take us up to this Conehead Hill, and then we will proceed north, and we'll be on this end of the Wilson, southern end of the western high ridge of Blue Diamond Hill. And just a quick note about the washes in this area. That wash that we were in a moment ago, just north of the gypsum mining road, that wash, the sides get steeper and steeper till it becomes quite the canyon. And there it is with very high walls. And yeah, the reason I point this out is that you can be in an area that looks nice and easy to navigate in this Blue Diamond Hill area, and suddenly find yourself confronted by a drop-off above a wash that's like a mini Grand Canyon. And so you really got to watch your step around here and just navigate carefully. But wow, what an amazing place. Okay, in this series of unmarked trails, this must be one of the canyon trails. You can see that it leads right along the edge of the canyon with its vertical walls here. And there you can see how the canyon has really deepened up in this area. Huge compared to what we were experiencing in the wash below. But I think that this trail might have taken us a little bit off course. So maybe it circles around, maybe not. So what I'm going to do is head up over this wall above us, and it's just like class 2, just walk up this little area. So I can get a view of that cone hill that we're shooting for, because I think this is taking us a little off course. However, wow, another whole opportunity for an adventure just going up this wash on this very well groomed trail, and in places where the trail crosses even the smallest side wash, there's a wooden bridge, little wooden bridge. So like the one you saw a little earlier in the video. So yeah, very well groomed trail, but let's get up a little higher here so we can look around and see where our target hill is. Okay, I just came up from that little trail below. Not too hard at all. Down the opening, and yeah, here's the Conehead Hill. But you can see we've digressed a little. We're a little off course, but yeah, we can still make it up the hill. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is maybe just take a route that leads over to this gradual slope and then up to the top. So maybe this wasn't too bad a digression. Let's look around. Spring Mountain Ranch at the base of the Rainbow Mountains. There's Potosi Mountain. When we get up to the top of that cone hill, I will make an attempt to identify the Rainbow Mountains, but what you're looking at here is the southern area of the Rainbow Mountains, and the Rainbow Mountains end just north of Potosi Mountain, Highway 160 dividing Potosi Mountain and the Rainbow Mountains. And by the way, over these mountains here is Level Canyon, and in addition, we'll probably get a look at Little Zion. In fact, I can almost identify these mountains now, but I want to wait till we get higher so that it's more obvious. What a wild area. Just outside of Las Vegas. You could be a million miles away. Okay, let's head up this ridge, get to the top of this Conehead Hill, continuing upward, and it gets a little more dicey up above. But I thought I saw a trail that led over in this direction. In fact, there's the continuation of that trail on the next cone. So just network of mountain bike trails. Yeah, if we can hit that trail up above here, circle around this head wall here, maybe to the right, it may be easy to continue on up to the top of the cone. Let's find out. Just came up this slope. It's not as difficult as it may look from this perspective. It's just a walk. Steep, but just a walk. I've been up steeper slopes. But my guess was correct, or my observation, that yeah, here is that trail. And that trail's going to lead us over to this little saddle where we can saddle between the two cones here, where we can take a U-turn to the left and then head up this slope to the summit of that cone we've been looking at. So let's continue on and see how that theory works. And by the way, since there's a really nice mountain bike trail up here, you can bet that in the mountain bike trail network, you could have gotten to this point probably by taking nice trails as opposed to the route that I took. So just a word. And then down here, a new site. There's the town of Blue Diamond below us. And this hill over here is that kind of corkscrew type hill. It looks more like a corkscrew on the other side that is at the intersection of Highway 159 and Highway 160. So giving you a little more perspective, and then you can see the gypsum mining road. You can trace that upward to the gypsum mining operation, And yeah, there is private property up here, the gypsum mine, but not where we are right now. So Blue Diamond Hill has a lot more open area than you might imagine. And then we've been up in this area, made it up to the helicopter outfit up at the very summit and just over those hills in the Blue Diamond Hill Western Circuit. And then here's another reference point. This is Damsel Peak. So yeah, you can see a little more perspective of where we are now. So let's continue here until we hit that saddle and then head up toward the summit of this hill. Okay, here we are at that saddle. Trail got us there, and that's leading over to the second cone. In this direction though, here is the initial cone, and I'd like to get up there just to look around from that high perspective. I think there's a way up to the summit here. I see a few vertical areas, but they don't look too tall, so let's go ahead and try that. What I'm discovering now though is that, yeah, if you want to be on the western ridge, the western high ridge, you'll probably be more likely to discover where it continues from this cone over here. And then here's the gypsum mining operation. And that's the one private property area. But you can see there's just a network of ridges and canyons all around, and not all of them are in the private area. So there are possibilities around here. Lot of exploration, and again, incredible views of the Rainbow Mountains. And when we get up to this little cone, or as high as we can get, I'll identify these mountains that we're looking at. But yeah, a network of really cool mountain biking trails just webbing its way all the way around and through this area. Okay, let's head on up to this, the initial cone head hill that we looked at from the Wheeler camp parking area. And by the way, the word camp is a misnomer, because no camping is allowed there. It's more of a trailhead area than a camping area. Well, that wasn't very difficult at all, just a basic walk, and there were always passages to weave around those vertical areas, which, by the way, were only about 4 feet to 6 feet high. The passageways were gradual, but here we are on the top of what I'll call cone 1, and there's cone 2 over there, which is our next goal, because I can see that we're not going to be navigating the western high ridge by continuing in this direction, which you can see is a huge canyon. But even so, those hiking / mountain biking trails continue to weave their way around all over the place here. And so let's take a look at where we are. Spring Valley Ranch. I think that first place that I identified as Spring Valley Ranch was, or Mountain Ranch, was really not the ranch. This is definitely. And if you've been to the Super Summer Theater, you know that that red building is the stage, and the grass beyond is the grass that you sit on and have a picnic while you are watching the Top Rate musical. So yeah, um, let's do a quick 360, and then what we'll do is identify the Rainbow Mountains as I promised. A lot of loose rock up here and drop-offs, but you don't need to get close to the drop-offs. Believe it or not, I am not comfortable with heights and drop-offs. Why I do these adventures has nothing to do with my comfort level of high places, but more just the joy of exploring. Now, here's again is Cone 2, and there's another trail in the network leading around. What we're going to do is go down to that saddle again and then head up to Cone 2 and look around up there to see where that continuation of this High West Ridge is beyond, and we'll see it when we get up to the next cone, I'm pretty sure. We'll find out. Anyway, I promised I would identify the Rainbow Mountains, and well, here's White Rock Mountain in Red Rock Canyon, and then over here is Bridge Mountain, and I'll zoom out a little as I identify each of these so you can get the overall perspective. Here is Rainbow Mountain. And Juniper Peak is smaller, hidden on the other side of Rainbow Mountain. Mount Wilson. Indecision Peak. And then we cross this little gap. This is this mountain has a name. I hear it's very vertical, not easy to navigate. But then we get to Hidden Peak and Monument Peak area, and then to the right, that lighter sandstone that you see is the Little Zion area. We'll get a better look at that a little later. But Hidden Peak, and let's make my turn in this loose rock. This would be Black Velvet Peak. The next one over is Windy Peak. And by the way, you can see all of these on LasVegasAreaTrails.com in the Rainbow Mountains area of the website. This would be Hollow Rock Peak. And then the furthest one over is South Peak. So there you have all the Rainbow Mountains identified, and then of course Potosi Mountain at the southern end of the Spring Mountains. So I'm gonna make a silent span of these Rainbow Mountains. You can identify the peaks I just pointed out. And then those cliffs, in this direction, the La Madre Mountains cliffs. And, oops, here you have El Bastardo. El Padre on the left, La Madre Mountain on the right, and then a little further on, Little La Madre, and then there is Damsel Peak, and that red rock you see underneath Damsel Peak at the base, I believe that's Gray Cap, part of Gray Cap Ridge. And again, adventures in all of these places on LasVegasAreaTrails.com. Let's make a silent sweep here. Okay, when we're looking at the Rainbow Mountains, the canyons are also a thing. And here, between Rainbow Mountain and Bridge Mountain, is Pine Creek Canyon, and also you can see a view of Juniper Peak right in the center there, if you look carefully. And Juniper Canyon would be just to the right of Rainbow Mountain. To the left of Rainbow Mountain, between Rainbow Mountain and Mount Wilson, is Oak Creek Canyon. And over here, First Creek Canyon to the left of Mount Wilson. And here's First Creek. It's either this one or, yeah, probably up here would be First Creek Overlook cliff area. Maybe it's this one here. But let's continue with the canyons. And like I said, Indecision Peak. And sorry, I don't know the canyons as we continue south. I know they all have names, and you can probably look them up, and maybe you already know them. Now notice the darker ridge behind the Rainbow Mountains. This is the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline. And the easiest access to this ridgeline is from Level Canyon, which is right on the other side of the ridgeline. And you can ascend fairly gradually up to that ridgeline from Level Canyon, and then look down on the Rainbow Mountain peaks and potentially descend to their summits without having to navigate all the red rock ledges below. If you, for example, you decided, hey, I want to go up Mount Wilson and I'm going to go by way of First Creek Canyon. Yeah, you're in for some red rock ledges. Gets kind of complicated. Not so if you come up from Level Canyon, get to the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline. And by the way, there are adventures on that ridgeline, the entire ridgeline, from White Rock Mountain in the north all the way to Potosi Mountain to the south on LasVegasAreaTrails.com. So lots of cool places to explore. So here we are. Let's go ahead. That's the Rainbow Mountains. Let's go ahead now, see if I can find a solid spot to stand on here. A lot of shale. Okay, so let's go ahead and head over to cone number 2 and see if we can find that ridge continuing along the west high ridge of Blue Diamond Hill, continuing toward Highway 159 at Red Rock Canyon. And the northern access would be right around that Red Rock Overlook that is on Highway 159 at Red Rock Canyon. Okay, onward. And by the way, one thing that I failed to point out is Blue Diamond, the town of Blue Diamond, right down here. Okay, back at the saddle, and now we're heading toward Conehead Hill number 2, and I think once we get up there, we'll find paths all the way along the ridge line, some of these bike paths, all the way up to Highway 159 at the Red Rock Canyon Overlook. Yeah, the question is, shall we go around this side, and does it go up the hill? I don't think so. So I think what we're gonna probably end up doing is find a way up to this ridge and then take it on up to the summit of the cone. We'll find out as we get closer. Okay, that short-lived help from the trail has just left me as the trail heads off over to the right base, along the right base of this Conehead Hill 2. And what I'm going to do is head up this way and then angle over to somewhere around this area, and then ascend to that ridge and then take the ridge up to the next cone. So here we go. Well, the closer you get, this little rock barrier doesn't look too hard. So I'm just gonna keep heading straight up this ridge line and then just climb over that rock barrier, and we'll be on top of Conehead 2. And if that doesn't work, if it is a barrier, then I just head down a little bit to where I can more easily summit that little barrier. And there we're looking back at Conehead number 1. So wild and wide open. It's like being on a mountaintop the entire time here. Okay, let's see if we can find a little passageway through this rock wall up ahead. I love it when you get close to what looked like a barrier from a ways away, and all of a sudden you see all kinds of openings. And so we'll just take one of these openings and continue straight up to that summit. And let's look around here. We're on loose rock. I'll try to be smooth with the video. Yeah, and there you can see down to that first cone. And then below, the trail we took for a while, then we left it and we began ascending this ridge. So pretty easy. Okay, here we are on the second cone summit. Do a quick 360 after taking a look at cone number 1. There it is. And you can see the saddle below, a little bit of the trail. So let's do that 360. And you'll recognize the same viewpoints. There's the gypsum mining operation. And that's really the only private property on Blue Diamond Hill. Spring Mountain State Park, and yeah, that red building, the Super Summer Theater stage area, and then the grass beyond is the grass that you sit on as you're watching the performance. And you can see that network of trails all over the place below us. Let's see. Yeah, there's some right down there. So lots of ways to head down the escape ridges back to Highway 159. But what we're going to do is we're going to continue along. Now you get a view of the West High Ridge here for Blue Diamond Hill area. And we're going to continue on ahead. And we may find some trails ahead too that will facilitate our progress. And by the way, I started at the southern end of this West High Ridge on purpose because the sun is behind, and that gave us some of the best views of the Rainbow Mountains. Of course, there's some cloud shade now, but that gave us the best views of the Rainbow Mountains. And then if I were to take this ridge back from the north to the south, by the afternoon the sun will be behind me again. So yeah, my recommendation is start at the south end, head to the north end, and then turn around and head back to the south end, and you'll have the sun behind you and the best images the whole way. Okay, I'm on the ridge line now after that second cone. Let's go back, take a look at it. There's that second cone, and you can see things have leveled out a bit. What do you think is the possibility that It's now an easy ridge line all the way up to the northern end. We don't know, but let's continue and see what happens. There's always surprises. Here's a desert tortoise that unfortunately did not make it in this harsh desert environment. Next high point ahead, and still on the ridge line, so this is nice. This is pretty much a matter of just making it from high point to high point. You can't see ahead until you get to the next high point. And there it is, looking back south. And yeah, same thing, no matter which direction you're going, is that you reach each high point, and by faith, you know that, or at least believe that the ridge line will continue to the next high point. And the ridge line continues for those who have faith that it will. So, high points ahead. Here's that next high point. Then over along the ridge line. And what we want to do, you see this high point right here. When we reach that high point, we have done the ridge, the southern portion of the ridge. We've already done the northern portion. I might continue on though, north, just to get the whole ridge today. We'll see what time it is when we reach that far high point. But yeah, gypsum mining operation below. And all over these hills. And then here's a shot of the ridge line that we have just traversed south. Looking south. And here we are now, even with Indecision Peak and the Spring Mountain State Park area below. Okay, onward. Okay, here we are on that next high point. Sure enough, a way is opening up before us. Not difficult at all. Just stay on the ridge. And high points ahead. Well, there's the next one straight ahead. And then we've got this high point. And this high point. And by faith, I'm going to believe that this ridge is going to continue to these high points, even though if you look straight toward them, it definitely looks like it dips down very sharply. But I think the ridge line will circle around. And then looking around, here are the Rainbow Mountains. Got quite a mixture of clouds and sun. And then looking back along the ridge line with its series of high points. And then over to the town of Blue Diamond down there, just to give some perspective. And the Spring Mountain Ranch State Park down here. Okay, let's continue along. So far, so good. Okay, next high point. And this is looking back south. No real huge ridges except for that first and second Conehead Hill. Rainbow Mountains. And looking ahead, we've got this upcoming high point and then one beyond it that look a little more substantial, but I still see the ridge line continuing, a little more complicated to get up to this next high point and the one following, but not impossible. At least I don't believe it's hard. Here's looking back on that last high point. Not difficult at all, as long as you know where the stairs are. And there's plenty of them all along this ridge. And let's look around, and I see trails below, number of bike trails that lead back down to Highway 159. The good thing about that is that there are a whole lot of places where you could escape this ridge if you need to. But let's continue looking around here. Got some gathering clouds. Here's the next high point. And it's the high point I have stood on from the cowboy horseback riding area coming south. But I'm still going to try to do this entire ridge line. If I run out of time, which is very likely, what I'm going to do is on the northern end, just catch Highway 159 and run that back to my starting point. And then here's looking at the gypsum mining operation. Some heavy equipment down there. And up here is the east edge of Blue Diamond Hill, eastern edge, and some high points. I think over this high point is the helicopter outfit, and then here is a tower. You're looking over Las Vegas Valley when you're on that trail. I think that's the Overlook Trail, and it is documented on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, the eastern circuit of Blue Diamond Hill. And then you can see the gypsum mining operation. Look carefully and you can see trails below us. Lots of trails, which mean that there are easier ways to escape this ridge all along the way than to continue along the top and go the whole length. There's, I believe that's First Creek. trailhead area. There's the trail going up toward Mount Wilson, up First Creek Canyon. Mount Wilson on the right, Indecision Peak on the left. Continuing around. Yeah, there's the Oak Creek trailhead area. And the trail going up toward Oak Creek Canyon. And of course, we're looking down into Red Rock Canyon over to White Rock Mountain just for perspective. I'll point more of those out as we get closer. And you see trails below us. So that's one good thing. There are lots of ways to descend from this ridge if you don't want to do the whole ridge. And there's phone coverage most of the way along the ridge top. So those are two good points. One thing that I should mention is that I run about 5 miles a day, and so in very good shape. You might want to be in good shape to do this. And my weight is between 160 and 170. 5'11" is my height. And that makes a great difference. Get down to your ideal weight and you can do so much more. But this is fairly tame here. And as long as you're in fairly good condition, you could probably do this. Rainbow Mountains again. And I'll identify those mountains from the north once we get to the one of these high points ahead, where we've got a good perspective of the northern end of the Rainbow Mountains and a whole lot more. Okay, onward. By the way, here's another important piece of information that I've got about 5 liters of liquid between energy drinks and water with me. It is the 3rd week of March. Pretty cool weather around in the I guess between 50 and 60 up at this altitude. But as you can see, the clouds gathering. But let's continue onward. Okay, still continuing to this next high point, but one thing that I noticed is that it looks like I'm going to be on mountain bike trails very soon. And as you get closer to the northern part of this ridgeline, you'll find that you're aided by these mountain bike trails. The southern part is the most pathless area on the ridgeline. So yeah, that's pretty good news. Okay, we are on a trail now. This is cool. This will speed things up significantly. And since I'm revealing things today, I just want you to know that you have a good chance of doing any of the adventures on Las Vegas area trails, though many of them are in pathless wilderness. I am closing in on my 69th birthday, and so if I can do these adventures, you probably can too. Okay, onward. Our first trail sign. That's interesting. We must be getting into civilization here. And if there was any question, yes, these are mountain bike trails, and you can pause the video and read the regulations. Basically, human power only. And I don't know if you read the fine print on the sign, but it says that this trail was built by just one person with a bit of help from friends. Not much, evidently. 300 man hours went into creating this mountain bike trail. So, wow, thank you, whoever you are. And this really streamlines our forward advance. And by the way, speaking of man hours, it takes about 30 hours to explore one adventure, plus to document it on the internet, all the process, all the pictures, like a 10-step Photoshop process, editing the video, and it's a labor of love. But the reason that I do this, and by the way, there are between 300 and 400 adventures on Las Vegas area trails. But the reason I do this is in part for people who can't get to these places. For some people, yeah, it's directions and information how to get to little known places in the wilderness around Las Vegas area within 150 miles. But also, it's for people who can't get to these places, to provide a kind of virtual experience. And I'll be one of those people 10 to 15 years from now. So anyway, that's the story, part of the story behind Las Vegas area trails. But I do this regardless. I just love being up here and out in the wilderness. Okay, and as you can see from this high point, we're looking again at the Rainbow Mountains. And let's just scan the mountains. We'll start at White Rock Mountain and we'll scan south. But this is another and unique perspective. Bridge Mountain, Rainbow Mountain. And by the way, yeah, now you can really see it well. Juniper Peak. Remember that darker ridgeline above is the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline. Rainbow Mountain, Mount Wilson, Indecision Peak. And I know this has a name between Indecision Peak and Hidden Peak, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. Maybe I'll put it on the video. Here is Little Zion. Beautiful oasis with ponderosa pines, tall ponderosa pines in that one strip of wilderness. It's like a little experience of Zion Park. And then up here, the next peak is Hidden Peak and Monument Peak. Then after that, Black Velvet Peak. And you can see the tip of Windy Peak. That red rock poking up there. And then there's Hollow Rock Peak and South Peak to the left of Windy Peak. And then above is Potosi Mountain. So there you have it from this perspective. And it's cool because you can see things from this different perspective that were not visible from south of here, where we started out on this ridgeline. So what I'm going to do now is use this nice little trail. Here's the ridgeline going forward, and you can see it descending now to Highway 159, just on the south side of Red Rock Canyon area, at least the BLM area of Red Rock Canyon. So I'm gonna maybe do some walk running, descend to Highway 159, and then perhaps take Highway 159 back to our starting point. And by the way, yeah, here is the ridgeline continuing south. We've covered this portion. So just an amazing ridgeline adventure with incredible views all the way, like being on a mountaintop. Okay, let's identify a few things that we have not yet identified. Okay, looking down here to Red Rock Canyon, there are the Calico Hills. Here's Red Cap. Turtlehead Peak, and Red Cap is nicknamed Little Turtlehead. And then over this way, there's Gray Cap Ridgeline. Let's trace it up. That's the ridgeline between Calico Basin and Brownstone Basin. Gray Cap Ridgeline. And then up above, Damsel Peak. And then the Madre Mountains Cliffs above Turtlehead Peak. There's Little La Madre. There's La Madre on the right, El Padre on the left. And it looks like we got rain over there. El Bastardo. Some streaks of light through the clouds and the rain. So, and then up in this direction, the Wilson Ridgeline above Lovell Canyon on the opposite side of that ridgeline. So, yeah, there's some points of interest and reference in a direction we haven't been looking too much. We've been so focused on the Rainbow Mountains. And I always point out the reference points because that's my GPS. That's how I navigate in the wilderness. Okay. And of course, the gypsum mining operation, and then up here, Blue Diamond Hill area above the cowboy horseback riding outfit. there you have it. Okay, now we're descending a bit toward the northern end of the ridge, and you can see there's a crossover point right over to this side of the ridge. And so we're going to cross over and then descend that ridge line and eventually be looking for a point to leave the ridge and hit Highway 159, turn around and take Highway 159 back to our start point. So we shall see. You can see there's a road below us to the right, but I want to keep to the ridge as much as possible. So that means being up on this portion of the ridge, crossing over. So here we go. And by the way, yeah, let's take a quick look back. And there we are looking back to that last high point. And of course, we're on a bike trail, and we're also going to be watching to see if this trail will lead. Looks like it leads down to the right. It may not be on that ridge that we want to be on. So we may be again in pathless wilderness, but on top of the ridge. The ridge looks pretty gradual. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Onward. Okay, now we're on that next ridge, keeping to the high western ridge, looking down, and we'll head over to this point and then look across and see if we want to go along the top of that ridge as it heads back down to Highway 159, or maybe we head down to where Highway 159 begins to take its downhill toward our starting point. It'd be nice not to do that that last uphill. It's gonna feel like Mount Everest. Okay, onward. And here, looking back, is the entire ridge line, the southern portion of the West Ridge Line that we have traversed thus far. And you can see now where we crossed over in order to connect with the ridge line as it continues along the furthest western point of Blue Diamond Hill. Okay, continuing along, here you've got the ridge continuing. Looks like it goes up a little bit and then it descends. You can see the exit of the Red Rock Canyon Scenic Drive right down in this area where it exits onto Highway 159. And then the next trailhead area is Oak Creek Canyon trailhead parking. And there's Oak Creek Canyon between Mount Wilson and Rainbow Mountain. So it gives you an idea where we are at this point. I'm going to continue on this ridge line. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to descend, but we are very close to the northern point of the ridge line. And then looking around, Blue Diamond Hill, and then upward along the ridge line. So yeah, continuing down this ridge line, and we're going to connect somewhere with Highway 159. It may be at the exit of the Red Rock Canyon Scenic Drive. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, with the goal of doing every last foot of this ridge, I'm planning to land across from the Red Rock Canyon Overlook on Highway 159, which is right down there, which means that, yeah, I need to descend the ridge once I reach the next high point, and then we'll have done the entire ridge. And then here is another view of, let's just do a sweep of Red Rock Canyon from this perspective. In fact, guess what we can see from here? There is Gas Peak in northern Las Vegas, northwestern. By the way, there are adventures on Las Vegas area trails for Gas Peak. Got a whole section there. And then looking at the Calico Hills, La Madre Mountain Cliffs, White Rock Mountain, some of the Wilson Ridgeline, and then this perspective of the Rainbow Mountains. Lighting's not as good at this point in the day, but you know, we've gotten a lot of images, beautiful lighting. And then continuing on here, there you can see the ridge. There's the ridge line. That is one of the high points, and then angle off to the right and along the top of the ridge line. And then down below we have Blue Diamond Hill, little road that leads to an opening in that long fence along Highway 159. And we may have to go down to that opening. I hope not, because then we've got a good uphill on Highway 159 before we finally get to the downhill, the final downhill on the way back. But if we have to, we'll do it. So to this next high point and then down. Pretty cool though. This ridgeline has been a spectacular view, like being on a mountaintop the entire way, running parallel and just east of the Rainbow Mountains. Okay, let's get to this next high point and then descend. See if we can find a way through that fence along Highway 159. Okay, here we are in the home stretch. And we're headed down to Highway 159. Here you see the Red Rock Canyon Overlook. And then where the Scenic Drive meets Highway 159. Rainbow Mountains not quite as brilliant in this afternoon sunlight, but still right there. And then you can see the ridgeline we've been on. Just looking south along that ridgeline as it winds to the south. Toward the Wheeler Spring Camp parking area. And then now we're looking toward Blue Diamond Hill. You see some of the trails there at the western base of the hill. Here's the Cowboy Trail Rides operation. And then some great views of the Calico Hills, Damsel Peak. Lit up beautifully at this one moment, as is White Rock Mountain. Okay, let's continue on, see where we're going to land on Highway 159. We'll continue down this ridge so we get the entire ridge. Look back across the ridge as we get ready to make our final descent. It has been an awesome ridge. We just came down from this point. Final descent ahead, and let's hope we can get through that barrier fence on Highway 159. That may be the biggest challenge of the day. I might just go for this opening down here where this road intersects Highway 159. I know that's an opening. It involves a little more uphill on Highway 159, but that shouldn't be too bad. We'll be traveling up in this direction. Okay, now we're at the very northern end of the Blue Diamond Hill Western High Ridgeline, and we're looking back. There's one of the high points where the ridgeline took a right and angled along as it continued south. We're down on the road that is right at where we're hoping is the opening that gets us through the fence and onto Highway 159. Here we go. Okay, now we see if it's easy to get through this fence. I think I saw an opening a little earlier today when I was driving by. And if so, this would be the northern parking area for the high ridge line, the western side of Blue Diamond Hill. Yeah, look at this. Probably designed like this. Yeah, look at all that barbed wire. And that just continues along Highway 159. So this may be just about the only opening. I think that the reason for this little jog in the fence and for the long fence here is just to protect the animals from straying onto Highway 159. It's a good plan. So yeah, if you're starting at the northern end of that western high ridge line, this is your parking area. And you can see where the ridge line angles around as it's going south. So now here we are on Highway 159. Let the races begin. It took about 6.5 hours to get to this point. Let's see how long it takes to take Highway 159 by foot and get all the way back to that Wheeler Spring parking area. And just to be clear, if you are starting at this parking area and you're heading south on the ridgeline, cross through this gate, head up to that high hill, and then just stay on the ridgeline all the way to the southern end. But I recommend you taking it from the south to the north just for the better light that you'll see, the better positioning of the sun. Okay, let's head back. I'll try to get a few shots of the ridgeline on the way back from down below on Highway 159. And here you go, here's the ridgeline. And there you have it. We'll get another shot. This is right before the Oak Creek parking area, trailhead. Okay, onward. Well, it's amazing how fast this is going compared to being up on the ridge. I'm already at the First Creek parking area. After that comes Spring Mountain Ranch down over here. And then after Spring Mountain Ranch comes Bonnie Springs, and then we're closing in on our start point at the Wheeler Spring Camp area. And yeah, it's only been about 35 minutes compared to whatever it was when I was on this ridge above. Here's a good shot of the ridge. Definitely more peaceful up there. Rainbow Mountains from below. There's Rainbow Mountain on the right, Mount Wilson in the center, and Indecision Peak on the left. So let's continue on. Okay, it's been about 45 minutes. We're already at Spring Mountain Ranch State Park. I think we got about 2 miles left to go. Not sure. But yeah, let's take a look up at the ridge line. And there you can see the ridge line above. and over to Red Rock Canyon, and then the Rainbow Mountains. And let's get the larger view now. Definitely not as peaceful down here as it was up on that ridge. But wow, it's a lot faster. So it makes it a huge loop. And there you can see the ridge on the horizon. Blue Diamond, Western High Ridge. Okay, onward. Okay, here we are at Bonnie Springs, making really good time. And here's the Western High Ridge. Not too good a view, but yeah, I think that those Conehead Hills are right up there. And just to give you the complete 360, Rainbow Mountains. Okay, I think we got 1 or 2 miles to go. So onward. And here we are back at the Willer Spring Camp parking area. There's the beast. And pretty amazing. Took an hour and 10 minutes to get back here, as compared to 6.5 hours on the way on that ridge. Remember those Conehead Hills? There they are. And then that canyon, there's the gypsum mining road, canyon down straight ahead, and then Rainbow Mountains. Pretty awesome loop adventure. And we made it full circle. Highly recommend this adventure for the views of the Rainbow Mountains. And it's like you're on a mountaintop the whole way. And again, there are additional trails up in this area toward the Rainbow Mountains. So yeah, this is something to explore in the future. But for today, awesome adventure. And now we're heading home.